Honest J. Nowak. Oh yeah. A pleasure to meet all at last, and welcome back to Honest J. Nowak, Mark of the Line. And let's get going with some new subjects. I've got marques in particular that will certainly be quite memorable. And I got another one right here that, well, let's just say it's similar to Audi, Honda, Hyundai, Cadillac, Ford, and Porsche. This is another marque that seems to be very common. BMW. Yeah. BMW is certainly unlike many others in the industry, partly because of the fact that this is yet another example of German automotive manufacturing. But BMW is more than just that. Its origin is one thing, as there are in fact a ton of automotive manufacturers out there in Germany. I've talked about Audi, I've talked about Porsche, but the big thing about BMW in comparison is that, well, they happen to be very innovative when it comes to different models. And there have been a lot of new innovations and a lot of huge things happening. It turns out that we are in fact going to be having some really big, exciting things happening out there in BMW's lifespan. In the future, we're probably going to expect a ton of great things to happen, especially when BMW is going to start introducing some other newer models that we're going to expect to appear in the marketplace. I talked about how much excitement I seem to showcase when explaining the Hyundai Santa Cruz pickup truck. But in terms of BMW, a lot of newer models out there happen to be just as impressively well designed and constructed. And I could probably say that the interior is probably just as nice. But when looking back at BMW and its history, unlike with the likelihood of Audi and its 1937 Racer, especially from that point in time, I mean, wow, that is impressive. BMW did not necessarily have those kind of things that were present way back then. Although, probably one of their first successful models is from 1957 with the 507 Roadster. And it was very common to find two-seating convertible rooftop roadsters out there back in that time. When discussing other marques, there were a lot to choose from. Jaguar had the XK series with the convertible rooftop, and then of course there were the introductions of several other models out there that had two seats and convertible rooftops. Chevrolet had the Corvette during the 50s, and then of course we had ourselves the many other unique roadsters of that generation. But the 507 was a much more different aspect, partly because German engineering and crafting was a whole new appreciation, amongst most things. Audi did in fact join on in when it came to German manufacturing for American consumers and motorists, but the thing is that, well, especially when going forward with the next few decades, the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, BMW has had a lot of big things happen. And while there were a lot of pros about BMW's lifespan so far, the cons are also pretty much there for all to see. If you're very familiar with BMW's catalog of vehicles that they have made since day one, then, well, one I could probably point out at this moment would have to be the Isetta. Man, that thing is almost like some weird, quirky sort of beetle. But, yeah, this is just another example of a vehicle out there that certainly nobody would have wanted to buy, even today, with a lot of people who are very enthusiastic about different choices out there in the field. And out of all models in the world, well, the Isetta is probably not so well looked by many. Although it does, in fact, impress the crap out of Doug DeMuro. But, again, that's just kind of what the quirks of some vehicles can be, just to make others happy. Looking to today, though, with BMW, you probably can't go very far without looking up Such models including the Z series, the M series, or even the more recent I series. The i8, i4, and i3 are pretty much just some examples of BMW attempting to cash in on the more greener aspects of cars that happen to run on more clean fuel sources. And of course we will have EVs running around until the end of time, but the thing is, BMW's share of that exact type of vehicle is probably not super gigantic. It's certainly not like Tesla. It's certainly not like the massive buttloads of Toyota Prius class vehicles out there or other EVs that they managed to construct. It's certainly nothing like, well, like hundreds of innovators out there. But BMW's share, whether you consider them to be as green as possible or at least close to it, it's pretty much up to you. The way I see things though, BMW and its never-ending share of, well, gradual attempts to try and fill in on different fields and chase after more popular trends these days certainly are not necessarily at the best. But I still will give them credit for a lot of incredible feats and quirks that they managed to accomplish throughout history, and I'll certainly give them more than enough credit for the styling, because that is incredible. Also, the blue and white sort of checkerboard kind of logo with a black ring around it, not a bad idea for a logo to help distinguish it apart from others. But anyways, that's pretty much just what I got to say about BMW, but let's head on back to the States tomorrow for another American automotive manufacturer out there in the industry. But if you want to see more go down on my channel, then make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.